F1 podcast. It's just me and Freddie today because, as discussed last time, Nigel has moved on to his big new job at Sky Sports and he's already writing lots of interesting things about liveries and some about actual F1 as well. But as I say, I'm joined with Freddie Coates to preview the Monaco Grand Prix, which is happening this weekend after the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix didn't happen last weekend. So, Freddie, first of all, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, not much to report from my side. Obviously, the more interesting life is yours, Adam, as you're approaching the end of university.
Yes, definitely. It's weird. I realised I'd had my last lecture that I didn't go to. So actually, my last lecture, I don't know which one was my last lecture. And obviously like with lectures, it's not so much, but that's the last probably time I'll be sat in a classroom learning something in that setup, which is really weird to think about because it's been, what,
You didn't
17,
even go.
18 years? Yeah, well,
Go. It's like, wow, it was the last time I'd be in a classroom. Didn't even go.
I didn't realise. I didn't
What
realise
a
that.
student. Oh, I didn't go to my last lecture.
Well, look, I didn't realise it was my last lecture. If I had realised, then well, maybe I should have realised because then I would have gone. But I
You
didn't.
go for a
So
drink afterwards, but you didn't go.
yeah, well, there'll be plenty of time to do that. I'm in 9 till 5 at the moment, designing a magazine called go follow the Concourse Mag on Twitter. If you're interested in football at all in any way,
Link
because
it in the
that's what we're always doing.
etc. We'll leave it in the descriptions.
Oh, lovely. Freddie's editing this, so he might not, but that's
I might
lovely if he
forget.
does. I'll remind you.
Every opportunity that I forget. But that's okay.
But yeah, it's going to be quite a strange 2 weeks, to be honest, because it's the end. It's very busy and working towards deadlines and stuff. It's also like the last weeks of uni, and it's hard to really process that when you're working against the clock and all of that. So, you've already been there, so
I did
it
this
better than
year.
I do.
Yeah,
this time.
Yeah, it was all right for me. I was fairly chilled. You probably go back and watch our podcast, and then maybe I'd look completely wired, but I don't know. I always thought I was chilled. It all seemed to come together. It will do for you. You'll be fine.
Well, fingers crossed, Tony.
Well,
you're here on
all of the podcast fans. Hopefully, are praying to their gods for you.
If you're atheist, just like cross your fingers or something.
Just do the normal superstition. That's actually scientific. So.
And check in for the Spanish Grand Prix preview to get an update in a week on how it's going as well, because that'll be fun for all the listeners. But yeah, we will.
We might just tack it on to the Monaco review. Who knows?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. But tune in.
There will be another podcast coming out. There will be a podcast where a good portion of the front of it will be dedicated to Adam complaining about why his university degree went to pot and he's got to come back for a 5th year of university.
Yeah, it says. I mean, I don't think any of my group listened to this, so yeah, he might just be raging against them. But we will have to see. Also, no, it's been great so far. I've enjoyed working with them. So, but you never, things can change.
Let's move on before you put your foot in it.
Yeah, well, firstly, just to touch on the Imola cancellation, obviously it was a shame. Obviously a shame for everyone who was meant to be going to the event, and obviously, a shame for us because we were looking forward to it and everyone who was looking forward to it. But it was absolutely the right decision to not put that pressure on the emergency services there, and not to put pressure on F1 as well in what was a kind of dynamic situation going on there. So yeah, just touching on that first of all, it was the right decision, and yeah, it's a massive shame. But Imola will be back next year, unless something again, out of the ordinary happened. So definitely, something to mark in the calendar for that. But yeah, Freddie, kind of anything to add on that?
No, I completely agree with you. So it looked very obviously to be the right decision. And who are we as fans, and who is F1 as an entity to sort of put itself above any of the hardship and awful situations that were going on in the Emilia-Romagna region. Just really not nice stuff. Numerous fatalities. So yeah, obviously our thoughts are there, particularly over the weekend when there wasn't a Grand Prix. It was notable by its absence, which for me was a good thing that it wasn't there. But yeah, it just make you think.
Yeah, definitely. And it was good. It felt like 99.9% of fans did come together, and agree with that decision. And there seemed to be very little backlash, even from people who would have been frustrated to be going. So, yeah, like I say, it's
I
nice when
think
you do get those moments of.
F1's been able to contractually sort everything out pretty delicately and decently to get tickets transferred to 24 for the most part, or offered as a refund. So that worked pretty well.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll park that there and move on to looking ahead. Well, not quite looking ahead to this weekend, but looking ahead to a few more years down the future, because there's another engine manufacturer on the grid.
Honda.
Oh God, returning for the.
But coming back.
They returned for the second time in 10 years? No, it's just a bit longer than that.
Yeah.
Is it?
15.
Anyway, it's a long time to do two returns.
15 years. But it's classic Honda that, they leave, they don't leave, but they do leave, but then they don't leave because they did leave. They didn't leave, but they did leave, and now they're back.
Yeah, now they are back. They were kind of running with Red Bull, but not really, because they pulled out. But Red Bull was still using their engines, and now, yes, they will be back in 2026 with Aston Martin. So, firstly, just a reaction to that news from, I guess, the engine and manufacturer side and what it means to F1, Freddie.
Well, I think it's good for F1 to have such a presence for manufacturers at the moment. Obviously, Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault, from powertrain perspective, the staples. With Red Bull powertrains developing out of the previous demise of Honda, we've got Ford coming in as well to work with Red Bull powertrains in essentially a sponsorship role. But with funding and presumably with some technical partnerships in there, that's 4 powertrain manufacturers. Then you've also got Audi, of course, coming in for their big F1, big only motorsport entry as of from next year. That all their motorsport will be from Audi will be Formula One, which is huge because Audi is sort of the name of sports cars. But anyway, and then on top of that, Honda coming in. That's 6 OEMs coming in and staying and being associated with Formula One in an incredible way. And it does speak to Works teams being successful. Obviously, it's all a bit dry on the Andretti Cadillac front, but that's still General Motors Cadillac. And they've definitely expressed an interest in Formula One. So who knows? Will we get Haas Cadillac down the line? You never know. But there's definitely just showing a healthy state for Formula One. It's a fantastic move for Aston Martin to get a Works engine deal with Honda, who have proved to be pretty fantastic in recent years and are coming in now not midway through a power unit cycle as they did in 2015 with McLaren. They're coming in, they're fronting up front and center with the technology they've developed so that they can then change ever so slightly for the sort of tweaks that are coming in for the 2026 engine regs. And it's a good move for all parties.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, obviously it's way too far away to be, thinking about the success or how Honda will do. But like Freddie says, the situation that they're coming into is a better situation for them than was the case in when they came back with McLaren in the 2010s, and we all know how that went. But yeah, I completely agree. I think F1 is just so hot right now for manufacturers and people wanting to be involved, and that's fantastic to see. And obviously we'll have to see about the number of teams coming in, but just having these names in the sport is absolutely fantastic, and having that interest, having that involvement. And yeah, I think it's just a shame that some of them won't succeed. There's this many people coming in but that's the way it goes, that not everyone will be successful, but you will. I think we will be seeing new names, on the podium competing for wins, or not necessarily new to F1, but new that's not on the grid right now, competing for wins, competing for podiums, and being at the top end of the grid. That will be really exciting to see. And yeah, it's it'll be an exciting time leading up to 2026, and having that. It just feels like F1 is being really rejuvenated by right now with with all this new interest. And as F1 fans, which both of us are, then it's brilliant to see.
F1 is successfully riding its wave. and obviously you need stuff to show for that. You can have, a few good periods where you whack the ticket prices up, which is what we're at now, but there's going to be a period to show for that later down the line, and they're getting that in writing from car manufacturers, from Formula One teams to sign up with them. It's creating the value for Formula One that they so desired, and it's just going to only increase the value of F1 as a sport. It's nice to see, and Aston Martin, second best team in Formula One at the moment. Honda have probably produced one of the fastest Formula One engines in recent years, of course. So teaming up, that seat's going to be coveted. And of course, are we safe to assume that one of them is pre-taken, is reserved, is a Stroll? Or do we think this such, sort of seniority, such a partnership really with Honda, and there's going to be a lot more going into this? And I don't know, could this be a change of perspective perhaps for Aston?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's really difficult. Obviously Aston Martin came into this season with high hopes, but that really gathered momentum, at the end of last season and then in the off season up to the car launch and then beyond for this year. So it will be really interesting to see how it goes, because it's not, it will be, if both parties, just a second on Aston Martin, actually, what they have done and how they've improved is just phenomenal. They've got all of their infrastructure projects coming online between now and 2026 when Honda's come in. They've obviously now signed this, big partnership that will be focused on them rather than being a Mercedes customer team so much. And, it's really fantastic for them, and just their work. Congratulations for how they have managed to turn it around from a team that on track wasn't doing very well over the since they'd come into the sport. But yeah, going back to that, I think it's really difficult because it is a team that would be Honda will be expecting them to be fighting for championships, and both championships in that car. And if you've got a driver in Lance Stroll who I just don't think is capable of reaching that very, very elite level that you
capable
need,
driver, but not shown signs that it's more than that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Consistency times being able to be 10 out of 10 or 9.9 out of 10 in all facets of racing. I just don't think Stroll's there. So, it's going to be really interesting to see, because like I say, Honda will be expecting that. Obviously, Aston Martin as a sponsor is there through Lawrence Stroll, but, whether
there's a board there, it's business.
Yes, that's it. The board, there'll be all of those elements coming into it as well. So yeah, I think there's both drivers in the team. Could Alonso still be there in 2026?
Yeah, I think there's a big old chance of him sticking around. I don't know. He's one of the drivers. I remember, we've had this discussion about, Valtteri Bottas, you're at Sauber now, and Alfa Romeo's obviously distancing themselves, and Audi are coming in. That's a good position for you. And it's like, Bottas won't be in Formula One in that time. That's ages away. He's going to be too old and things like that. But then you look at, and he's obviously not going to be too old, but you just have that impression. And then Fernando Alonso, though, it's just kind of like, yeah, so what? He'll be 45. So what?
He will. But he'll be 45 at the end of 2026.
Yeah.
It's unprecedented in modern F1.
Unprecedented, yeah. That's exactly it. I mean, he'll still have been born in the 80s.
I don't know.
At least he's not born in the 70s.
I would. It feels like Alonso can't surprise us anymore, but I think I would be surprised if he is there in 2026.
He went back to McLaren. He left McLaren in the first place, went back to McLaren, and then everything that's just happened with Fernando Alonso. I mean, to then even sort of re-partner up with Honda after everything that's gone on, after Honda shut him down and didn't give him a car in IndyCar because they didn't want to be partnered with Alonso in 2018, after GP2 engine, after all of that chaos that went down and, ridiculousness and on Alonso's part, I think, to be honest, a lot of crap from his side about Honda.
Yeah.
Which at the time, was a bad engine, but McLaren didn't cover themselves in glory. It's understandable that there could be a block there, but if everyone's been grown-ups about it, then it was just the story is crackers.
In a one-word answer, would you be more surprised if Stroll or Alonso is at the team in 2026? I'm saying Alonso.
You think you'd be more surprised if Alonso was at the team?
Than Stroll. Yeah, I think there's more chance of Stroll staying there.
I think I agree with that, just because Alonso volatility is, it follows him around.
Is volatile.
We're still in that honeymoon period at Aston Martin. There's a long time before a works engine deal gets in place there, and of course he can sell himself to other teams. So, who knows? Works engine deals across the board.
I think we need to move on. But
General Motors.
We need to move on, but I will also briefly raise. I reckon Lando Norris is a definite name to link with that. Obviously, McLaren haven't got as much momentum behind them right now, and his contract will be up before that. He's been linked with Audi with Andreas Seidel heading up the project there, but I think Lando Norris is definitely a name to watch for that seat. Just like apparently
on that, because I wouldn't say anything about that. I think we could do a whole different thing on what Formula 1 will look like in 2026 with drivers, but I don't know. I'm not. I feel like Lando Norris would be linked somewhere else beforehand, and would go there.
I can definitely see it. But anyway, moving on. Another link that came up today was Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari. Ferrari are apparently prepared to offer £40 million to Lewis Hamilton to drive their cars. There's a lot to unpack here as well. But again, Freddie, what's the kind of biggest takeaway? What was your reaction to seeing that?
Yeah, it was a Daily Mail exclusive. Should give them the credit. And these kind of rumors do pop up all over the place. But it's a specific link, and a lot of the time, particularly for broad, for Fleet Street, for print papers to make these kind of claims, it can either be absolutely definite, they've seen it, or it can be reading between the lines or something, but in the wrong way. And it feels more like it's the former for some reason. It feels like a genuine, serious offer has been put forward, and there's lots of details are getting thrown around and stuff being reported as such, that Carlos Sainz would be the sacrificial lamb, that Charles Leclerc is apparently okay with it, that there's talks going on with it, and that there's even suggestions that it would satisfy Ferrari owners in such a way. So it's weird. It's a weird one to see, because these stories do come up every now and again. And you look at drivers like Senna, you look at back in the day Alonso, before he went to Ferrari and when he was at Renault and all of that. It's kind of like people do talk about, but then Ferrari. And it is that kind of team. And of course, for Hamilton, it's that career drive position now of, okay, cool, you've done the rest of it. Top it off with Ferrari and call it a day. And you can see the appeal from a story. So it's whether that sticks around and holds true in the paddock. I really don't know. I think I'm always torn between it, because I would love to see Lewis drive Ferrari. I think it'd be fantastic. I think, two great names teaming up is always just brilliant. And also just big drive moves is fun. But also from Lewis's side, I mean, it's a sideways step. Mercedes has always been so good to him, and it's always that kind of quandary, which you get with every driver move. But it would, to be honest, my main point of view with it is it would be a bit of fun if the story broke. But it must be difficult for you, because you don't like Ferrari because you like Lewis. How would you exist?
Yeah, that has probably mellowed a bit since 2007, but I would love to see Hamilton break the record, to be honest, and that's like, I just think that has to be where his kind of priority is, surely. He is very embedded in Mercedes, and it's kind of a team that is built really in his image, along with Toto Wolff. It doesn't have massive oversight from Mercedes or the Daimler Group. It kind of, he is a huge part of it and has been that way for a decade now. So I would still be really, really, really surprised if he left, but maybe not 3 reallys actually, but it would still surprise me just because it seemed, whenever he is so effusive about the team and the environment there, whenever he gets a chance to talk about it, and I think going from that to Ferrari would, be a risk at the very least. But I definitely think there's some, also this report is very much from Ferrari's side, and I do believe that they are, I can believe that they are looking into this, and it is, Hamilton is a person of interest for them, and it's, like you said, it's a specific link and it's a specific amount of money. So I think there's no smoke without fire, and Ferrari would be looking at that. And for Hamilton, I do think he'd have to think very carefully about it, because Mercedes, have got it wrong the last 2 years and are struggling to come back from that. And his deal is up at the end of this year. So I just can't think that he'd be ready to walk away from it now, is maybe my thing. Maybe in a year or so if the same thing happens again. But it's just, could it happen this year? That would surprise me.
I know you've just thrown Lando Norris at Aston Martin Honda for 2026, but obviously this kind of move is a domino. This is a huge statement from, if this happens from any sort of, from silly season, it becomes ridiculous. I mean, we could say we've had the first step of silly season now already with this, because, you could definitely throw this away as a silly article, but say it happens. Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton locked in Ferrari 2024. Carlos Sainz on the market. Space at Mercedes on the market. Russell's not going anywhere. Verstappen's probably not going anywhere. Perez is locked in until technically 2024. What happens there? Is it a straight swap? Is this Lando Norris move going to be at Mercedes? Is there going to be a ridiculous thing where some random move like Albon happens at Mercedes? What's your first gut reaction of driver that would be picked by Mercedes to replace Hamilton should he leave, and where would Sainz end up? Not me. They can, they can be the same answer.
Yeah. I do really like Sainz going there. I think it's a Sainz or someone like Albon, slotting into that role, or even like Gasly, something like that. I could see.
Really?
I'd be surprised if it was Norris, to be honest. Considering their roots are very much in the Rosberg basket, and they have dealt with Hamilton, Rosberg before. So that's probably I can see that kind of category of driver. Yeah, Sainz would probably be the one that would make most sense, and he'd probably jump at that chance as well to stay in a front running ish team. It kind of, like you say, sideways move for him. But it's always, if you're at Ferrari and you are the second driver, then it's always going to be at risk. So taking that move into another, hopefully for him, multi-year deal, then I think that would make a lot of sense for him. But yeah, it's so, there is so, like you say, we could do a 2-part hour-long specials episode on this. But yeah, it's very, very exciting.
We probably will.
There's a summer break.
When we've got a few announcements in the bag, then we can do a whether the next pieces fall.
Yeah, there's just so much going on. I mean, like we said, with the teams going on for 2026, obviously the driving market, this could be a huge domino to fall. Even if not look at last year, then it doesn't even take something going on at the top perceived top teams to change anything. So yeah, lots of predictions to come between now and 2026. But it's also quite hard to predict this weekend as well, because it's a track where Red Bull might not be favourites, or at least they won't be able to use, or their biggest weapon this season, which is their insane straight line speed with DRS, won't be as efficient. So yeah, thoughts heading into Monaco. Do you think this could be the first race this season that Red Bull are not winning?
Yeah, I do. They're not as good on their tyres. You need your tyre warm-up. They're not as capable in the slow speed at just dialing it in immediately and quickly. And as Ferrari is Aston Martin, they're chief rivals in this instance. Are your Leclerc and Alonso figures who are the drivers nipping at the heels. Leclerc's obviously got 2 pole positions this year, both at Baku, but in terms of comparable circuits, the one with the majority that we can look at in terms of tight, slow speed, switch on street track corners is Baku, of course, compared to Monaco. So you look at that and you think, in qualifying pace, there's a chance that Red Bull can be relegated from the front row. And in Baku, it's like, oh, that's okay, because they'll just overtake them because of the massive, massive capability you can overtake a car there. You have to overtake a car there. Monaco, less so. Obviously, it's Monaco, and it's Monaco, and it's Monaco, and it's Monaco, and it's Monaco. And because of Monaco being Monaco, it means you can't go past a car in Monaco. So it could be a race of, oh my God, a Red Bull's not in the lead for 78 laps. And actually be really quite interesting as a result of that. And you could have a Ferrari, Aston Martin, Red Bull strategy fight because, we could even see a highly efficient Red Bull getting better and better and faster throughout the race, looking after its tyres, pulling off a supreme overcut or something like that, and just smashing it, or even doing an on-track pass in Monaco. So
yeah, that's where it's at for me. Is like I think a non-web Red Bull can very much take pole position and lead the first stint. I think the difficulty is going to be, if it does go, Ferrari, I'm not going to put any faith in their race pace, even if it is Monaco. I think Leclerc can get pole. That would not surprise me at all. But yeah, I think for me, it's Aston Martin and Alonso that I think pose the biggest threat. But again, I think it's going to be really. It's going to be still very difficult to hold the Red Bull off over the course of the race because it has just been, very quick everywhere we've been, outside of the long straight bits or even the long straight bits, slightly curved bits. So yeah, I think it's, as I say, I think Alonso is probably where I'm looking. It could be Leclerc just has a, one of those stunning Leclerc weekends and he can make it work. There's also Mercedes coming with upgrades that were meant to come last weekend, but now they're coming to Imola, which I don't know how they feel about that, but they probably prefer to be racing
it's fine.
it
It's
for
a
a number of
racetrack at the end
reasons.
of the day. It's got to work there.
Yeah, but I think,
they'll have fares for it. They're more likely to not.
Yeah, it's more. I think the data that they'll be able to get from this weekend may not be as complete. Yeah, I don't think it will be as
of course not.
all encompassing.
It's good at doing it at Imola and at Monaco, but it's better than just not bringing an upgrade.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think it's going to be. I think they'll have to probably wait until Spain to know, have a clear picture of how things are. Whereas
I mean, you look at it and you kind of think and Mercedes have been very good at downplaying this, but you've got to look at every sort of B-spec car that's been brought in recent years, and they have usually worked, but they've been a slow burn. You look at Aston Martin last year. Completely different concept. They changed their concept at the European rounds. Yeah, jokes, green Red Bull, whatever, da-di-da. But they then were able to develop that concept throughout the season. And like you just said earlier in the pod, that there was momentum for them later on in the season because they were able to develop it through. So I think just the sooner it gets on track, the sooner it works later on in the season. But it doesn't make really any difference to these races where it's at, whether it starts at Imola, whether it starts at Monaco.
Yeah, I think I was thinking more a Mercedes side rather than a race prediction side, to be honest. I think, it will be a wait until Spain to get a clear picture of how things look for them. But yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's just kind of hard to make a prediction either way for them, really. But yeah, like I say, I think I'll I still can't look past Red Bull. I think I still can't. I think they have it, but I'm hoping I'll prove wrong. I'm hoping at the very least that we get a good battle going on at the front, potentially be between three teams. There is also, depending on which forecast you look at, the chance of rain on the Sunday. So there's that. There's
depending on which forecast you look at, it makes that your classic F1 rain watching, which is like, oh, it might rain, won't rain.
But fingers crossed this time it won't rain. I mean, it's been a weird kind of few years for Monaco, and there's
it's an outlier, isn't it?
It certainly is. So yeah, there's that's kind of maybe the most hope that we will see something mixed up this weekend. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Really, it's been Verstappen's only taken one win there. Obviously, missed in 2020. He was very close to beating Hamilton in 2019 and then got the win in 21. So yeah, I think it will be an interesting one to see how he goes. I think, the Perez resurgence in kind of popular culture has maybe died a death a bit after the Miami Grand Prix, but he could be strong there again after his win there last year. So yeah, it's just there's a lot mixing in. I think we're not going to get a clear picture until Saturday afternoon, to be honest.
And that's absolutely fine by me.
We also won't get a clear picture of how the grid looks, not in terms of their competitive running order, but in just of actually how they look until just before FP1, because Williams will hopefully have some Gulf special livery thing going on. McLaren have got a special livery going on, which I really like. I don't know your opinions on it, Freddie.
Pays tribute to the Triple Crown that apparently teams can now win. Which I think is quite a lot. It's this big achievement that we've always accredited to one driver, and is the marketing as a team. It's a fantastic idea for them to do. I'm really behind it. I think it does look really good. I think, and there is still the kind of idea of, we could have just had a nice orange papaya Marlboro livery. I completely get why, as a modern organization, you don't quite want to be doing too much of that, but they're doing it with an Indy car, so there's not too much to shy away from, to be fair, to contradict myself. But I do kind of think that would look cool. But as a brand marketing exercise across multiple disciplines in IndyCar, in Formula One, they're not doing Le Mans, but who knows? Maybe they'll pay tribute to it in some way on their Formula E car in Jakarta. A week after, then it's good. It just looks good. It looks cool, and it's proper motorsport. It's not the F1 bubble, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I think it looks really clean. I think I preferred their Gulf livery from a couple of years ago, but I still really like this.
I find Gulf liveries much better on old sports cars than on modern single seaters. I think it's
I really like it. I really liked it. I really liked the like overalls as well. I really liked the Gulf hoodie that you got.
I agree. Fantastic. I think if Williams are doing something similar this weekend, which is completely based on one promo video that Gulf have done on our Twitter account. This whole thing. There's nothing from anywhere else on this yet. But that's how you tease things, to be fair.
You work in social media.
Yeah, I know.
Digital marketing.
You look at the amount that McLaren put out in preview of this. Don't worry, I'm sure there will be something, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a full livery. But it's just it's a hard one to do on a single seater. I really hope they can do a nice, clean job with it, if it happens.
Yeah, I just like it. I liked how McLaren did it. I thought it just looked kind of really clean. I like the baby blue and orange. I like baby blue on a lot of things anyway. I like the orange kind of bleeding. So I think they did a good job of it. But
it will always look the best on Porsches from the 70s. That's just where it looks best, and it's a really cool thing to hark back to. And I'm in favour of that completely. But Gulf livery on sports cars from the 70s, mostly Porsches, like a 917K or something in a Gulf livery, just is gorgeous. Absolutely fantastic.
Was it it was on the Ford GT40 too, wasn't it?
They did do a Ford GT40 version of it. It wasn't the one that won Le Mans in '66. That was just a black one. And I think, but there was a Gulf color scheme, but they were all relatively similar with their actual design, I'm pretty sure, but I don't want to be speaking absolute crap.
I think it's not really my wheelhouse, to be honest. I think I don't know. That's the one that sticks in my mind for me. But like I say, it's not.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not
it's the iconic livery, and that's the point.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully Williams could come up with something equally as iconic or near. That'd be quite a stretch, to be fair, but hopefully they can come up with something that looks good too this weekend. Just before we go, I have absolutely no interest in this. I might give it a watch, but maybe not, and I probably won't understand much of it. Freddie, do you want to talk about the Indy 500, seeing as you put it in as a note to talk about?
Seeing as we just talked about the Triple Crown, let's talk about one of the elements of the Triple Crown. The Indy 500, even if you don't know much about it, Adam, it's just addictive racing to watch. It's its own discipline. It's 500 miles, oval race, The qualifying times were about 230 miles an hour, average of 4 laps. So the fastest laps that had been done were about 234 miles an hour average speed. So these cars are monstrously quick. They're on an oval with just walls. It's balls out racing that's terrifying. It's so scary and it's so good. And the drivers that do it are brilliant, and they're brilliant at it. And there's 33 cars going at it on Sunday afternoon in America, evening after the Monaco Grand Prix European time, and it's just brilliant to watch. I remember I watched the first one because Fernando Alonso did it. Didn't really know what was going on, and now I try to watch an IndyCar race when it's on, and it's won me over. It's exciting racing. It's just really good fun. It's just really good fun. All the drivers are cool. And I recommend it. I have no idea who's going to win it. It's going to be a lottery, but I want Felix Rosenqvist to do well. He's driving the Marlboro McLaren, and he's starting on the front row. And I just think he's an excellent driver, so I want him to do well. But there's just loads of cool people involved in it, and it's kind of like, we talk about other motorsport in this pod. Me and Nigel did a lot, and talk about how Le Mans is just fantastic, and how Indy is fantastic, and how we really enjoy watching Formula E. And there is just an element of it that, like, you've got the Triple Crown, you've got Monaco. That's all right. Qualifying is great fun. But then you've got Le Mans and the Indy 500. And as races, they do transcend a lot of just Formula One, the average Formula One race. They're just cool. They're just insane. And I hugely recommend just giving it a watch. It's on Sky F1. It's there. Just watch it.
Why do they do qualifying a week before the race?
Because it's such a big event. It's just a huge event, so they just go for it. Just say, like, we're going to really up the ante on the build-up for this. So we're going to do a 2-day qualifying. Normally there can be 40 plus cars qualifying for it. In recent years, it's not been as many because obviously money. But traditionally, you have all the cars qualifying, and then rows sort of 6 to the penultimate row are set. So something like positions 13 to 30 are set. And then you have a fast 12 and a fast 6. But in between the fast 12 and the fast 6, which is the top 12 and top 6, there's bump day, where you have people trying to qualify with the final 3 places, and that's it. So that's just a whole day in itself. And it's mad because you can have something like, this year you had 1 car missing out. So you had 4 cars qualifying for 3 positions. And the way they've been doing it is you have a fast lane, a slow lane, things like that. But also, so you have a time, and if you can let that time stand, but if you think you can go better, you can go out again and go for it. But that time is then taken away. So you then got to improve.
Well, so it's like a stick or twist scenario.
Stick or twist one shot, but not one shot, because you can go out in groups and things like that. And it's insane. It's mad. It's great. It's ridiculous. And that, qualifying week before, Le Mans qualifying a few days before, all these stuff is just because they're just big, proper events. They really jamboree the shit out of it. And it's like, the average wet race is the average wet race. The average IndyCar race is the average IndyCar race. But this one is mad. And it's huge. And it's just good fun.
The brief bit of research. The brief bit of...
It's got the
American... I do, to be fair. I do. I really wish I'd been to a NASCAR race at least while I was out there. Texas Post Speedway never really made it a priority, but there we go.
I'm way more likely, I feel, to go to IndyCar because there is a European flair to it. It has got that kind of. It is a single-seater championship. There are elements of it that are very much kind of just like basics of motorsport. Like, it has refueling, it has tires, it has just simple aero where cars can just follow each other, but it also is fast. It has grunt. It's essentially what you'd say, what do you want from a racing car? We want it to be fast, but we also want it to be safe, so it's got a shield. We want to have refueling because it's a car. We want to have tires because it's a car. And here it is. It's essentially your basics of racing at a really high level.
Well, who knows? Maybe I'll give it a watch. Maybe next year I'll give it. Maybe I'll give it a watch. Maybe I'll really love it, and then maybe next year we'll go on a winging it trip to the Indy 500. Who knows?
I would be so down for it. I'm going to.
Well, there we go.
So I've been to Monaco. For me, the Indy 500 after a few weeks from now will be my only Triple Crown race I've not been to as a fan, which isn't as big an achievement as winning them as a racing driver, but it's up there.
I have never been to a motorsport race in any form, so hopefully that will change this season.
That will change.
Anyway, to finish up on that, the brief bit of research I have done is that you can get 3 types of milk: whole milk, semi-skimmed, skimmed, or no preference. Which one would you pick?
Probably no preference because I don't like milk. But the reason I put that on there,
do you not?
No, I don't. It's just
do you not? Do you have cereal?
Not really. No. If I do, I'll have a Weetabix and I can mix it up. Then you can sort of just make it more.
Yeah.
Or I'll have porridge or something like that. Or I'll have dry.
Maybe for 3.5 years. Over 3.5 years.
Yeah, we
didn't know that
together.
No.
But I would say you have some hacks to that. In that I think Juan Pablo Montoya had chocolate milk, and Emerson Fittipaldi had orange juice. Just because I think he was sponsored by orange juice or something, or he had an orange juice bar. So a bit of me thinks I would just go for like apple juice just to piss everyone off.
I'd probably go for whole milk.
Yeah.
Or tea? No, because I wouldn't want to drink a whole thing of hot tea. I don't like cold tea. So
tea would be refreshing though after 500 miles in the hot Indianapolis sun of racing.
Tea to be honest, I think I just want a Fanta. To be honest, please. I just want a Fanta or something. I think my favorite. Well, not my favorite thing, but I do really like it. At the end of like a Tour de France stage, when the riders will finish some mad alpine mountain stage, and they'll finish up and just glug a whole like thing of Coke. It's the first thing they do, or Fanta or whatever. But yeah, I'd out of the milk options, I'd go for whole milk because it's special. Though normally I'm 2%. But anyway, that finishes quite a unique episode of the Winging It F1 podcast. Talked a lot about uni, a lot about the Indy 500, and a bit about the Monaco Grand Prix as well. So yeah, we will see you next week for a Monaco review and potentially a Spain preview as well. But until then, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.